former and 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, lost here by a razor-thin 11,780 votes in 2020 and has blamed the vastly popular Republican governor for his electoral misfortunes. Now he's kumbaya again with Governor Kemp and his camp, and allies and the GOP are all hands on deck to recapture the swing state in November, even as his counterpart Democratic candidate Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz are hopping on the bus to the Peach State to reach out to independents and hopefully keep Georgia in Democrats' hands after the results of the November polls when they come out, as VOA's Scott Stearns reports.
Kamala Harris chose a bus trip through Georgia as her first post-Democratic convention campaigning, starting at a high school band practice where running mate Tim Walz talked about the joyful work of their campaign.
I'm grateful to be part of a team with a really great head coach here in your next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
And Harris praised young Georgians' leadership.
Your generation, all that you guys stand for, everything you have at stake is what is going to propel our country into the next era of what we can do, what we can do.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump led Georgia political polls through much of this election cycle. But with Joe Biden out of the race, most now show Trump and Harris are tied. Trump running mate J.D. Vance was in Georgia last week.
We're going to do it together, but only if you get us across the finish line in Georgia. This is one of the most important states in the union.
Vance and Trump are campaigning largely on what they say are economic and immigration policy failures, both of which Trump told Georgia voters should be blamed on Harris.
With your vote, inflation will stop. The illegal aliens will be turned back. They're not coming in. We got to stop them. Did you see where she's now saying, oh, we had a very good border, oh, great. They had the worst border in the history of the world.
Trump winning Republican votes in Georgia is complicated by his denunciation of the state's popular Republican governor, Brian Kemp, who won re-election 2 years ago despite a Trump-backed primary challenge. Earlier this month, Trump repeatedly blamed Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger for his Georgia loss in 2020.
Raffensperger and Brian Kemp, your governor, who I got elected, by the way. If it wasn't for me, he would not be your governor. I think everybody knows that. He's a very disloyal person, isn't he? Very disloyal.
With Georgia polls tightening, Trump used his social media site last week to thank Kemp for all his help and support in Georgia. Kemp is set to co-host a Trump fundraiser in Atlanta Thursday. A Georgia grand jury indicted Trump and some of his allies last year over their attempts to illegally interfere with the state's 2020 election results. Trump attorneys this week again appealed for the dismissal of those charges in a case that will not go to trial before Election Day. Georgia's State Election Board Monday approved new rules that critics say could disrupt finalizing the state's November election results. 2 board members voted against the change. The 3 board members who passed it were all hailed by name by Trump this month as, quote, pit bulls fighting for honesty, transparency, and victory. Scott Stearns, VOA News.